driven by an accident scene or saw a pair of skid marks in police tape, only to wonder what happened? Who was at fault? Was anyone killed or injured? These questions are usually answered not by the police, but by the three laws of motion, collision, reconstruction. And it's not a business for the faint of heart. But lawyers across the country, on both sides of these cases, call upon the expertise of Jeff McGrath and Mark Welch of Three Laws Recon Investigations to help find the truth. And on every episode of the SkidMarks podcast, former police officers, Mr. McGrath and Mr. Welch, will discuss real accidents that they have reconstructed to find the truth behind those skid marks and blood-stained asphalt. So fasten your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen, for another episode of the SkidMarks podcast.
Wow! What an hey everybody, this is Sean, the host of the SkidMarks podcast. I'm so honored that my buddy Jeff asked me and Mark to be the host here, but you guys are the stars of this show. And I, in the intro, it explained a little bit, just a little teeny portion of what you guys do. To my right or left, or both of you gentlemen, Mark McGrath, Mark Welch, tell me what's going on, and Jeff, tell me what's going on. I'm so nervous being near you guys. You guys are legends in the industry. How long in combined police efforts, years, have you two been together?
So we've been together now, not together, but we've been working together.
Whichever way you want to call it.
It's an open show.
12 years, yeah, it could be. And then, together we've got about 30 years of experience all the way around.
Just over 30 years probably to be combined.
So you two started as police officers.
Yeah, I was a police officer, and then I became a vehicular crimes detective, motorcycle officer, and my role was to investigate serious and fatal collisions. I worked with a team of other detectives, and we would get called out if somebody was died in a collision or somebody was looking like they were going to pass. Then they would call our team out, and we would go out and investigate, figure out what happened. It's called accident reconstruction, and they put us through a lot of schooling. There's an intense amount of schooling that's physics based, where we go and we have to figure out the dynamics of crashes and what happens, what the skid marks on the roads tell us, what the other gouges, all this information. And when we get done, we go out and it's real life work, and we're trying to figure out what happened, how fast they were going, all that.
So, and we had heard earlier, so people that are prosecuting, maybe a defendant, or is it defense lawyers? Like, who calls you to say, guys, we need your freaking expertise?
That's a really good question, Sean. Typically what happens is the prosecution, they have the detectives that are their investigators. That's their role. That's the role I used to be in. Now that I'm private, since I've retired, I started this company because I really enjoy the work. Now that I'm private, what happens is somebody, let's say you get into a really bad accident and police are looking at you for criminal charging.
Right.
Now you get an attorney. Your attorney needs an expert that has to match the detectives on the other side that's trying to put you in prison. So we go out and we look at their work. We re-interview everybody. We interview the detectives. Then we go through the scene again, every photograph they've got. We go back and look at the vehicles and do all our examinations. And then we put it all together. Sometimes we find that the detectives have done a Loctite job, an amazing job, and there's really nothing we can do. And then there are times where we find issues within the investigation or the case, or the driver, as we're going to just talk about today, where we find these issues, and they're major issues. They can get a case completely dismissed.
Yeah, and that is part of what SkidMarks, regardless which way of this podcast, it makes it so amazing. There's like we had talked about before, you guys, there's got to be 3,982 different cases that we can discuss, and that's probably how many episodes we're going to do.
I bet.
But yeah, the twists and turns, and that's what I cannot wait. And Mark, do you have anything to add to that before we hit a commercial? And then we're going to get into today's episode, today's incident.
Yeah, absolutely. The big thing is just investigating them and doing it and making sure that it was done right. The most important thing is to make sure the investigation was done based on the facts of the case, not some guess or who I thought it was.
Yeah. Wow.
And Mark's background is, if you could explain your background a
Sure,
little bit.
I can do that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Former state trooper. I've been through thousands of crashes. I was up in Washington State, and I've done a lot of different investigations, both with vehicular and then missing and exploded children, auto theft, identity theft. So between me and Jeff, we've got quite a bit of background.
And a wide range.
Yep.
I mean, whenever you guys go to an incident, that's the neat thing. As people listen to these podcasts, it's always different. Like literally, there's going to be nothing the same, and the twists and turns are just crazy, crazy. We got to pay our bills, and we're going to go to a commercial break right now, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to come right back, and we're going to do the incident. What are we calling this incident there?
We're going to call this one I did an article about a while ago. This one's called, it's a play on a song, but it's, what did I call this one? One beer, one cell phone, and a tooth.
Is that George Thorogood?
Yeah, I'm doing the Thorogood thing.
Thorogood.
That doesn't sound.
Is he part of it? Is this in Detroit?
That'd be great.
Detroit Destroyers! That's awesome. All right, commercial break. We'll come right back, ladies and gentlemen.
Three Laws Recon, the very best accident investigation, reconstruction, and DUI investigation. 3 Laws Recon works for you with over 50 years of combined accident investigation reconstruction experience.
Hi, I'm Jeff McGrath, the owner of 3 Laws Recon. We are a full-service private investigation, DUI consultation, accident reconstruction company. We are the experts you need in the field to defend your client.
The truth is important to 3 Laws Recon because the truth is important to you. What truly happened? What was the cause of this accident? 3 Laws Recon provides a wide range of specialties in accident reconstruction. Experts analyze your discovery, the roadway where the collision occurred, and the vehicles involved. We interview witnesses, police officers, case agents, and anyone else who may have touched the case. 3 Laws Recon can interpret the evidence from the roadway and vehicles and use this information to help reconstruct the accident. The damage to the vehicles, along with the evidence left on the roadway, tells the story of the accident.
If you just came in after the commercial break, we're talking about the new incident that it's probably an old case now, but it's called One Beer, One Watch, One Tooth or something?
Not quite, pretty close. So the title of this one is One Watch, One Cell Phone, and One Beer.
Wow.
And the end of it is, not the spoiler, which we
Yeah.
get to.
We don't spoil out here.
is that somebody was facing up to 12 years in prison.
Okay.
So we started our investigation on this one.
Okay. So that they were facing that. Again, remind everybody, you guys come in and I'll remind them, but you come in and say, whoa, 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 whoa. You know, we did find some facts that are this, and that, but you never know. This guy could get more years. At this point, we don't know. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about it. We'll take a break. We're going to talk about it some more. And at the end, you're going to say, hey, this is what happened.
Right.
All right. Well, shoot, guys. Come on. Let's start the story.
Go ahead, Jeff. Tell them what.
Well, this is one where I get the client in my office from the attorney, and he's adamant he wasn't driving. He wasn't driving this. So to set up the collision, what happened was there was the vehicle that our client was in had run a red light and hit a car. It was a significant crash. The guys that was being charged, I think it was a 15-year-old sister was in the front passenger seat.
Okay.
And she was lumped up in the footwell of the car. I mean, she was everything broken. They didn't know if she was going to survive.
Wow.
Our client got out of the car, the driver's side door, left the scene, walked away from it, and I'd say he probably walked about 1,000 feet away, went behind a building, because he had to pee. He had to pee really bad.
Okay.
He'd been drinking, and he admits he'd been drinking. So he comes back to the scene. By the time he walks back, there's a bunch of witnesses around. Their police are just showing up on scene, and everybody's pointing to him. That's him. That's the guy.
He was the driver.
Yes. Yeah. They saw him get out of the driver's side of the car. So that's where I get involved. And Sean, if I could, if I had $1 for everybody that told me they weren't the driver, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be so rich.
Of course.
So of course I roll my eyes. Yeah, sure. Okay, you weren't the driver. So let's look into it. I'm going to find out.
Right.
So ultimately, I start digging through, and identify was there's significant damage to the windshield from the inside, and it's in the center of the windshield. The airbag had deployed on the driver's side, and the seatbelt was hanging out of the door, which tells me whoever was in the driver's seat was wearing a seatbelt, and they had the airbag. So their injuries are going to be very minimal in this case. Our client had I think a broken nose, broken jaw, lacerations to his head, required several stitches. I mean, he was broken up pretty good. I think he had a broken clavicle as well.
Wow. Okay.
So to have all those injuries and still be seat belted and have the airbag go off, that's where I was starting to go.
Those
okay,
that didn't match up.
It's not matching at this point.
Okay.
So I have to really dig into this one.
Okay. So that's the red flag there.
Yes.
And there was other people in the vehicle.
Yeah, there was reportedly there were 2 other people in the vehicle. Now his sister was in the front passenger seat, as I said, still in the vehicle.
Younger girl. 15.
Younger girl. The fire department pulled her out. She did survive.
Okay, good.
So this didn't turn into a homicide. It turned into what we call an aggravated assault, where he was being charged with felony assault, which happens if they determine you're impaired and you have a crash in a car and you seriously injure or kill somebody, it's either aggravated assault or it is homicide.
Okay, wow.
So he's looking at the aggravated assault side. He's looking at 12 years in prison.
12 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So and also, ladies and gentlemen, you might not know this. We all assume that you have the case in front of you. That sometimes if anybody's listening, because I think the same thing. I'm learning as we go. This is a 2-year-old case, right? Or this is an older case with a car. You don't go to the scene where it's actually happening a lot of times, obviously. You have to go back and look at pictures. Did you see the physical vehicle or no?
Right, so picture, if you will, the police get there, they do their investigation, they figure out that everybody's pointing at this guy saying, hey, he's the driver, he's guilty. They arrest him, they go through the car, they look for any other evidence, they take all the photos and everything, and then they put it on a tow truck and they take it to an impound yard. So it goes and it's saved till the evidence, till the court case happens and it's adjudicated. Then they figure out what they're going to do with the car, usually get rid of it. So they've done their thing. Now, it could be weeks, months, years later that we even get any of this. The car's probably rusted, sat in the rain for years, who even knows. And then all we have left is photographs and statements from the people, and sometimes they're not even around anymore.
Wow.
Well, and I'd like to add to that. We still have the car. We go back and look at it, and Mark had a good point. Sometimes it's sitting out in the elements. Unless there's DNA or something like that that's surrounding this case, they usually just leave it outside. But it's in an impound yard. Nobody can touch it. So I go out there and I assess the damage.
Okay.
And the damage is still there to the vehicle, regardless of what happened. So I can see the same damage that they saw that night. And also the roadway itself, when there's a serious, severe collision, even though this happened 6 months ago, 2 years ago, whatever it was, I think this had been 6 months old by the time I got it. There's still gouges and marks in the roadway. You just have to know what you're looking for.
Right.
And that's what I'm out there. I'm out there crawling on my hands and knees in the street looking for these marks so I can put these cars on their trajectories and determine the impact and impact area and what happened there.
Yeah.
So that's part of my process. So I'm not going to the active live scene, but I am getting still as much data, just a little under, but just close to the same amount of data that the detectives are getting.
Right, and you've done it so much. So
yeah.
This is where we're going to go to the next break, and then we're going to talk about that point that you just made of what you come up with to go, whoa, or yeah. I mean, there's probably times when you say these guys are dead on, and then there's times, of course, in some of these cases where it's like, no, you didn't. I like to say that. We're going to go for a little commercial break right now, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in about 1 second.
We do it just for grins at Triad Kids Dental.
Oh my gosh, hope you kids are out there, whoever's listening. You're flossing every night and brushing up. I use a bamboo toothbrush now with charcoal covered bristles. You can get them on Amazon. They're really good for your teeth and gums. Anyway, we're sponsored by Bamboo.
I could go to dentist, I don't know.
You know,
Me
I
too.
don't have dental insurance. All right, well, we're back to discussing the 1 beer, 1 whiskey, 1 shot,
Very
1
close.
cell phone, and 1
Very
watch.
close, very close. 1 beer,
And-
1 cell phone, and 2 teeth.
And 2 teeth. And so we're all on the edge of our, I was going to say sheets.
Yeah, well.
Have you ever been on the edge of a sheet? Have you ever?
Well, yeah.
You probably have. Yeah. He says, Irish as they come, ladies and gentlemen. A couple sheets to the wind. Are both of you Scottish Irish?
Yes.
Is there a bond?
No, I'm Irish. He's Scottish. But they're still blonde.
Yeah.
We're close enough.
All right. I like it. All right. So we were back to this story, and what we were discussing earlier was that you were on the verge of looking at some data that might not have been kosher, as we say. Can we pick it up from there?
Yeah. When I get to the vehicle, I look at it, and I also have the photos too that were captured at the scene and then immediately after. So I get there, I'm out there looking at the vehicle, and I notice there's we call it a head strike, and that's when your head hits a windshield from inside, and it actually breaks the glass on the window. It's very similar to like if you took a bowling ball and just pushed it in there, you'd see that round spot. But in that, you also get hair fibers and skin tissue, stuff like that, because it tears your head up pretty bad. There was a beer can up on the dashboard that was left there, and there was a watch. And now I'm talking to the client, and I have him in my office, and we're going through all these photos, and I zoom in on this head strike because it's right under the center rear view mirror. And if you're in the driver's seat, it would be, and you're seatbelted, you wouldn't be able to hit the center of the windshield.
Awkward.
So I'm going, okay, so you know what, I'm starting to believe this kid. Then, as I'm also looking at the vehicle, let's back up a little bit, I'm out there, I notice the seats are on the inside, like towards the console side where the driver and passenger front seats would be, were bent inward as if there was a large object or body that went through the center from the back seat and bent those seats forward. So I've got that, and I've got a head strike right in line with that. That is it's telling me somebody was in the back seat and they hit the windshield. Well, our client, when I'm talking to him, he had, like I said, his head was torn up, several abrasions, some stitches, broken jaw, broken nose, and he had some teeth knocked out.
Wow.
So now he tells me he's sitting in the seat holding his beer, which I know that's not right, but he's in the back seat. He says, I'm sitting there and I'm holding my beer, and I hadn't even opened it yet. And this was a closed beer can that was on the dashboard.
Okay.
And so as I look further, I see the beer can, and there's a watch, and I explained to him, this is what we have here. He goes, yeah, that's my watch, and that's my beer. So that tells me that's his arm that went up into that windshield. And there was his left hand was broken as well, the knuckles, and that was from the force of his hand also hitting the windshield along with his head. So that's how the beer and the watch get there. And so I blow up this, I put this picture on my 60-inch monitor, I blow it up, and I zoom in on this dashboard, and I find a tooth laying there.
Wow.
And this tooth had never been seen by anybody, including myself, until I blew up this photograph and looked. And as I'm looking even closer, it matches the tooth, and I'm not saying by DNA or anything like that, but the tooth,
makes sense,
the number
right?
of tooth, like it's kind of it's not a front tooth, it's kind of a molar, a premolar, one of those in between the front and the back. And so it's laying there on the dashboard and up near where the glass meets the dash. And so as I start to process through this, I go, there's no way if he was the driver, he could have done this. And we have the proof right there. He had teeth knocked out. There's a tooth on the dashboard. He's got his beer and his watch is sitting right there. And he's got a head strike and he's got a head injury. So you start putting two and two together and you go, this guy was in the back seat. And now I have no doubt he was. So who was driving? He's like, I was drunk. I just had some guy named George or Fred or whatever.
Right, so
friend of his driving.
He's claiming still, he's sticking with that.
Yeah, he's sticking with it. And the evidence is pointing more and more to that he was not the driver. He was in the back seat.
Wow.
So
this has got us going.
Yeah. So I complete my investigation, and I wrap everything up. I submit my report with my photos and my evidence, showing the evidence I found. Submit that to the attorney. The attorney gets it. It's called, at this point, it's discoverable. So the attorney turns that over to the prosecutor.
Okay.
So the prosecutor's now seeing what I'm finding, and this is where the hiccup starts for their end. So now the prosecutor's going, I think we got a problem, because maybe this guy was telling the truth. So they still don't want to dismiss it. They're like, yeah, you know what? I don't care what you found, but I know in the background they're worried, and because if the prosecutor goes to fight this and they lose the case, it affects them more than it affects a defense attorney who loses a case, because they're expected to lose cases.
Oh, okay.
Prosecutors aren't. Prosecutors they take cases to win.
Yeah.
And in my career, I've had cases where I get turndowns from the prosecutor when I submit it. They're like, "There's no likelihood of prosecution." I'm like, "Well, let's try it anyway."
Yeah.
But in this case, they were going forward with it, and so you know, I finally, I'm doing other work. It's been a month or so or longer, and I'm meeting with another attorney. We're having lunch and we're sitting down.
Wait, is this the ending? Because
Well, yeah,
hold on there,
yeah,
ladies
yeah.
and gentlemen. We've got another commercial.
Can't
We do this in 3 bits, and this guy, he gets so excited.
I'm excited.
I'm excited for him. He's just... Alrighty, let's just see what we've got going right now, ladies and gentlemen. Do we have something on the air? Let's do this one. Be crazy. You guys are crazy nutballs.
Three Laws Recon will become an extension of your office and conduct an assessment of your case while working under your direction. Three Laws Recon will first and immediately dissect your case and advise on any discovery or case evidence you should have but is missing. We will verbally give you a list of issues we see with the case, positive and negative. If at that point you want to continue forward with Three Laws Recon, we will start our process of continuous consulting and reconstruction. We will always be transparent and explain or educate as to the methods we're using. We will hold case strategy meetings on a weekly basis, or as often as you direct us. This method has been extremely successful with attorneys, as cases further closer to trial or deviation. At any time during our relationship, we can provide a detailed report outlining case issues. These have been utilized to scientifically educate defendants that may have a skewed version of the events or believe they were not the driver, either by impairment or memory recall, or support deviation requests.
All right, I've got Jeff and Mark right here sitting with me. Three Laws Recon Investigations is the name of the company that they have, and this podcast is called SkidMarks. In case you just popped in, hopefully you're listening to every one that we've got. So now we're coming to the conclusion. Do we call this kind of almost a wrap-up of the case? And I think if you've been listening before the commercial break, you found that Jeff found some very important things. But what kind of hit me, and maybe the listeners as well, was it seems as if you found like overwhelming evidence, and so in the prosecutors, they don't want to lose. So that happens a lot with you guys, or Mark, you can take this case or this question as well. Is prosecutors, we always think everybody's fair, but when, man, you found so many different things, and yet they're balking at this.
Yeah, the prosecutor is going to take the case from the police, make sure it's right, and then prosecute it. That's what they do.
Right.
And usually, just like with anyone, you assume that the police have done everything they can do, they've done everything correctly. This is just the facts that happen. We take it to jury or a trial, we go through that process, and the prosecutor usually wins. So the prosecutor won't take a case that's just not going to win. They'll decline it and say either do more investigation or do something else with it. But if you're an accountant, you're expected to do all the math correctly.
Right.
We expect the same with the police. They should do everything correctly. It's not that they didn't do it correctly, but maybe they missed something. And if you're an accountant, someday you're going to miss something. The math is going to be wrong. So you have to go back and you got to take a look at it. And if it just doesn't add up, then don't submit it. And that's not what happened in this case.
Wow, yeah. And the other question I have real quick, and I'll let you wrap it up as well, but is the tooth was very important. You were not looking for a tooth, were you? I mean, you said you blew up the pictures, which it's amazing, all the stuff. We need to take one of these shows just to talk about exactly like what you guys do with that, because that to me is amazing. You found a tooth, but were you like looking for the tooth? Just curiosity. Did the guy say, oh my gosh, this will defend me?
No, the funny part to this is I wasn't looking for a tooth, no. I was looking at the vehicle's damage profile, because what we have to do is we have to match all the damage to what happened in that event. Now, there's external damage where the cars hit each other, so we can match that up in the angles and
Right.
get speeds. There's internal damage to that car that we assign to certain injuries of occupants. And that way, that's the biomechanical portion of this, where we can determine who was sitting in what seat based on injuries. This is one of those cases where we're looking at we know the car's hit, and we know the car ran a red light, and we know the car was doing, I think it was doing 45, 50 miles an hour at the time. It wasn't, the speed was, whatever it was on the roadway, somebody just wasn't paying attention, went through the light, and boom, and hit a car.
Right.
So we weren't looking at, was this car doing 72 miles an hour, was this, we had the facts on that one, and we didn't dispute that. What we were trying to look for is, this guy says he was in the back seat. So my investigation is going to revolve around, let's see who was sitting where, because if he was in the back seat, I'll find out. If he wasn't in the back seat, I'll find out.
Either way, you're going to find out the truth.
That's
the true truth. That's what we discussed before. That's your job.
That's
what
my
you
job.
guys do. Is like, this is actually what did happen.
Yes. I'm not. If the attorney says, "Hey, I need to put this guy in the back seat," I won't work for him.
Yeah.
I'm out there looking for the truth, and sometimes I find the truth, and I go back to the attorney and I say, "We have a problem because this is not anything we can do for this guy. We found out he was driving, and so we got to move forward with that." So I won't submit a report, because when I submit a report, it becomes discoverable.
Right.
And then unless I'm working for the prosecution, I'm not going to do their work for them.
Yeah. So when you get a case, obviously that's why they hire you, either party, but you're getting the facts. There's no opinions. You guys have zero opinions. The facts are there, and then you just go upon that. So let's go with this case. So the guy, it looks in the beginning, shutting. He's drunk. He drove. He
walked away.
Yep,
came back.
He's trying to get away. Blah blah blah. So tell us. Let's wrap this up a little bit, because you found all this evidence, and what happened with the guy?
So I submit the report, like I said, and with all my information. And the two thing that I wasn't looking for that just came across, I was actually in a meeting with the attorney and the client, and I had my paralegal in the room as well. And I was looking, I'm like, I don't know what that white thing is on the dash. We couldn't figure it out. And I kept zooming, I couldn't figure it out. My paralegal goes, I think that's a tooth.
Oh, wow.
And I went, once you vision it, I'm like, you damn right that's a tooth. Holy shit. So we were able to really capture that and see that it was definitely a tooth. But had I not blown this up and really focused on this, we'd pass through it again. I mean, it was missed several times already.
Wow.
And so ending is, I'm sitting here, it's about a month later, I submit my report, and I kind of, as time goes on, I don't forget about it, but I kind of put it to the back because I've got other cases I'm working on. So I'm at lunch with another attorney, and I get a text from my phone, and I look at it, and it's
a text from your phone?
I'm sorry, I get it, not from my phone, I get a text,
from
and I look, and it's, as I'm sitting there having lunch trying to talk about this other case, it says in big caps, all caps, case dismissed.
Oh, wow.
Thank you for your hard work. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. So yeah, we got the whole thing dropped. Now, to my knowledge, they still have not located the driver of this vehicle.
Okay, so he pretty much fled.
He was off. He was off like a prom.
He or she. We don't want to sit there and say it was a man or woman.
Well, he was referenced as he. And there was a name given. But I believe one of the statements was that he was undocumented, possibly from Mexico. So there's no telling who this guy was. There were no injuries to if you found the guy to say you were in this driver's seat because you had an airbag and seatbelt. So somebody got away with it, but our client just got saved 12 years in prison because of this.
Because of the tooth.
Yeah.
The watch. And really quickly, we'll wrap up. The watch, was it physically there, or did you see an indent with the? You said the watch, so you found a physical watch.
His watch was there. There was a beer can that was unopened, still sitting there. Like they leave the car in the state it was.
Okay.
Which was interesting because typically beer cans get impounded as evidence.
Yeah.
But this was a closed beer can, so it's not really evidence as far as drinking. I think you can photograph it, but they left it there. So it was still there. And no, there was, like I said, there was small damage to the windshield just to the left of where the head strike was, which indicates that would have been his hand, his knuckles, which were broken. And everything just came off. His wrist, his watch came off, and his beer can just sat there along with his tooth.
Wow. Amazing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's the case of the one beer, one watch, one cell phone. Next week, we're going to be discussing a whole different incident. You can also, you're listening to these now. You can listen. Where are we listening to these? On Anchor or on your website? Give us your website, and can people email you guys with questions?
Yeah, you can actually Linktree, which is linktr.ee. /3lawsrecon. And you can get all of our social media profiles, everything.
Or maybe just the website.
Website is 3lawsrecon.com. It's pretty simple.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's it. So next week we've got another show.
Yes, we do. Another exciting one.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, hope you had a great time. Again, my name is Sean Hoy. We had a great, wonderful I was on the edge of my seat. And next time, grab some popcorn or grab whatever you want. Grab your lady to listen to the next episode of SkidMarks. Have a handy dandy day and night.